It is wet, it is gloomy, but Dr. Johnny Bloomfield from johnnybloomfield.com is available for a conversation talking about NEAT. Not neatness, but NEAT. NEAT exercise. What is it, Johnny?
Hi. Morning, Frank. NEAT is called, it's a technical term, it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's a bit of a mouthful. So we shorten that down to NEAT. And that is energy that we expend from everything that we do that is not sleeping, breathing, or planned exercise. So if you think about our energy expenditure in terms of our daily output, 70% of what we burn is just to help us survive. It's known as our resting metabolic rate. It just keeps us alive, and all the body's functions need quite a lot of the energy intake that we have. Then we have 15% of our energy expenditure comes from this NEAT form of activity. So that's, like they say, all the small movements that you think nothing about that all add up to a big calorie burn. So we're talking about brushing our teeth, having a shower, making your dinner, eating your dinner, hoovering your house, all those things that you wouldn't classify as exercise, but they are they're all adding up to quite a significant proportion of our energy expenditure. Just to put that in context, so that's 50%. And 10% is from our digestion of our food that we intake, and only 5% is from the formal exercise that we do. So actually the deliberate physical activity and exercise only takes up a very small part of our energy expenditure. 15%, 3 times as much, comes from all the stuff that's not formal exercise.
So this is all part of your mission to get us to stop sitting.
Yeah, you've scuppered me. Yes, it's all about sitting less and moving more, and it all counts. It's all worthwhile doing. There's even research to show that fidgeting has positive benefits. There was a study published, I think, in 2016, involving quite a number of women. I think 12,000 women, and tracked them for 12 years, and they found that fidgeting was reducing their risk of early death that's associated with sitting still. So simple as tapping your foot along with the beat in the background. I hear also you're a bit of an air guitar soloist. Your producer let that slip to me earlier on today.
Well, but many's a song we play where I'm up there doing the AC/DC. Gosh, I'm rarely in the seat. I'm a living example of your guidance, you know. Yes, I am sitting talking to you, but a lot of the time during the program, I'm up in the studio. I'm not lying back scrolling my phone. I'm on my feet. I'm moving about. I'm worshipping at your altar.
Great. I mean, it's all about trying to reduce that sedentary time, that sitting still. We're many of us. I think there's an average of about 9 hours a day in the UK where people are sitting motionless at their desks or in their cars or in front of their TVs, and we really have to try and reduce that. We know that 8 hours or less in a day is probably the upper limit, but sitting less, trying to get that down to maybe 6 hours would be better. So sitting's not bad. It's just long periods of uninterrupted sitting still for too long is what we want to try and avoid. So it's trying to just interrupt sitting still for too long, and simply getting up, moving, as I say, tapping your foot, fidgeting is all forms of movement that can help that. But certainly lifting out of a chair and activating the muscles in the lower body is very important too. So yes, just making sure we don't sit for long periods of time.
Yeah, and you can do things like the washing the car, as you say, just fidgeting, general moving about, walk up and down the stairs, take the dog for a walk. Even when you're carrying the groceries, it's an example of something you don't think of as exercise. Gardening is a great example, and of course, playing with your children. And all of that uses up calories and works the joints and gets the blood to flow.
Absolutely fine. So what kind of worries me a little bit is how technology's making our lives more and more convenient. If you think way back, we have introduction of washing machines. We used to wash our clothes by hand, and then dishwashers where we used to wash our dishes by hand. But also things like a car washing now. We usually don't wash our cars manually anymore. We take it to a place, we get them washed. Or I've now seen like we have devices that cut our grass for us without having to mow the lawn, or hoovering the house. We see the robots that go around and hoover people's houses as well. So these are convenient, helpful, useful little gadgets, but they also have coming at a cost to ourselves because we are not expending the energy that's beneficial for us by choosing to use these kind of gadgets in a convenient way.
And some people, of course, can't move. They're sitting. That's the lifestyle that they have because of their medical condition. You're suggesting that they move their arms if they can at all. They tap their foot if they can. They get as much exercise into the restricted body that they have. And absolute sympathy for anyone who's going through pain as they're listening to us. As for those who are able to do it but don't do it, the most obvious thing to do, Johnny, is to get out and walk. And not enough people, like on a wet day like today, will be prepared to go out for a walk, but there's actually nothing as refreshing.
Absolutely. A good way of keeping accountability is tracking your steps. And certainly the recognized target that most people are aware of is trying to reach 10,000 steps a day. Now that is a challenging enough target, so I'm more encouraging towards trying to identify a minimum amount of steps a day rather than necessarily an ideal target. So usually, if you wear a device like that, see how you're doing for a week or 10 days. What's your average score, and then make that your daily minimum. So you're going, I'm never sitting down for dinner until I've reached X thousand steps. So you keep yourself motivated and moving throughout the day. Don't be put off by that 10,000 target if you get to later in the day and say, well, I'm never going to get to 10,000, so I'm not going to put any further effort in today. I'll write it off. But if you can have that minimum target, maybe it's 5,000 steps for some people, and you go, well, I can get to that, and then I can push on to the next ideal target. But you're always trying to do a daily minimum, and that's a really helpful driver of good activity and behavior. So I'm an advocate of following steps, gathering some objective information about what you're actually doing, and using that as your own personal benchmark to keep nudging you forward and making progress.
Absolutely. It is good advice, as always. Johnny, thank you. Dr. Johnny Bloomfield from johnnybloomfield.com, reminding us that we got to get some movement into our lives, and the more movement we're capable of, the more we can add to it. Even on a wet and dismal summer day like